Hello, and welcome to the Badhumanist look at Restoration Shaman. In this video, I'm going to go through the different passives and abilities the Restoration Shaman has here. We'll talk about the talents, go through each row, talk about the choices, what each row might offer, how different synergies across rows might work. Show a little bit of gameplay here in the trading grounds, just kind of healing some of these trading ground kind of NPCs, and then moving on to the different stats, how the stats might work. I do think there's actually more than one way you might build out your shaman depending on how you're choosing to play, and then get my overall thoughts and hope for the future here. So let's of course start with our passives, and Resto has some very strong, very important passives. So Tidal Waves is one of them, very important here. So whenever you cast Chain Heal or Riptide, it reduces the cast time of your next healing wave by 30 or your crit effect of your next healing surge by 40. So again, reduce cast time by 30% or increase crit chance by 40% on the different heals. Now you can get 2 stacks, but it doesn't stack the percent. So if you have 2 stacks, you just get 2 stacks of the 30% for healing wave or the 40% for healing surge. So keep that in mind. That's actually quite good. Again, basically if I do this, my healing wave becomes a 1.5 second cast. So again, it does more healing, which I'm going to talk about in a second, than healing surge. So that's quite useful. It has some pretty good synergies with some other talents as well. Resurgence actually is one of those abilities that it synergizes well with. So your direct heal crits refund a percentage of your maximum mana. You get 1% from healing wave, 0.6% from healing surge or riptide, and 0.25% from chain heal. So again, you're getting some decent mana back. Again, it's a percent of your max mana, not the percent of the mana of the cost. So again, right now 1% of my mana would be 200 mana here. So you can see, for example, healing wave only costs 360. If you refund 200, it basically costs nothing. I think you literally get that mana back in the amount of time it takes you to cast it. So yeah, it can make some spells very, very efficient, which is good. Resurgence, as I mentioned, okay, so reincarnation, again, allows you to res yourself every 30 minutes. Deep healing, so this again is your mastery, increases healing from your spells by up to 82%, based on your current health. Again, that percent changes based upon your mastery. Lower health targets are healed for more. Lava Surge, again, is a DPS passive. Flame shot damage over time has a chance to reset the remaining cooldown on Lava Burst and cause your next Lava Burst to be instant. Wind Shear is an interrupt every 12 seconds. Water Walking is Water Walking. Tremor Totem is actually now back, and again, it's baseline. So again, 1 minute cooldown allows you to shake the ground and remove fear, charm, and sleep effects. Very, very nice. Spirit Worker's Grace, 2 minute cooldown, allows you to cast while healing for 15 seconds. Spirit Link Totem, again, you summon a totem at the ground, right? Anyone in that area, of course, would reduce damage taken by a party of raid members, wow, and reduce damage by 10%. So every second, health of all the players is redistributed. Now, the interesting thing is how the game handles this. The way the game handles it is it literally does damage to some targets to heal others. But it is a damage effect. So if there's a damage reduction effect also on them, that damage is reduced. So you can actually, for example, if let's say barrier's up, right, you might damage them for 70 health and then heal another person for 100. So you can actually gain health out of Spirit Link Totem if you have a DR on top of it. So again, it works very well with, again, like I mentioned, Barrier or something like Darkness, anything that would be, or again, even Devo Aura, right? Anything that would allow for damage reduction to be occurring has the ability to kind of really help buff this cooldown. Huge cooldown, can save people's lives. Again, it's one of the strongest cooldowns in the game. Riptide, now there's normally only 1 charge. I'm talented in the 2 charges. So restorative waters wash over a friendly target, healing them for an amount and an additional amount over 18 seconds. Purify Spirit is again what removes curse and magic effects. Purge allows you to purge off a beneficial magic effect from a target. Lightning Bolt is a free DPS cast. Lava Burst is again another damage cast. It will always crit if flame shocks on the target. Hexus, of course, still here, 30-second cooldown. Healing Wave. So, as I mentioned, you have Healing Surge and Healing Wave. One's, again, a quicker, more expensive heal. The other one is a slower, cheaper heal, but it also heals for more. You'll notice there's a bit of a spell coefficient difference here to where Healing Wave is healing for, something on the line of, 12, 13% more than Healing Surge is. Healing Tide Totem is another 3-minute cooldown. Again, it pulses every 1.7 seconds, healing all party or raid members within 40 yards for a certain amount. It's not the strongest cooldown, but again, it is some nice, good background healing. We're in a meta where basically you're going to be chaining cooldowns together anyway, and the fact that you can put this cooldown down and still do your healing is what actually makes it strong. Because if you think about a lot of the other cooldowns that do something like this, take for example Tranquility or Divine Hymn, both of those now are channeled. You can't be moving. They took away the moving with Resto. Druid, with Tranquility. So this is a nice one. You can kind of put a totem down, still running around doing all your healing in the meantime, not having a channel. So while it is weaker, you can still be healing while it's going on, whereas your Divine Hymn and your Tranquilities, you can't do that. Healing Surge, again, is a quick surge, as I mentioned. Shorter cast time, does less healing, costs a good bit more than double, honestly. Healing Rain, I will say that, again, having a cast time on Healing Rain is a bit rough, in all honesty, because you're trying to place it somewhere, and, like, knowing, of course, our luck, right, you're going to put it down, they're going to move right out of it before you get the cast down. But once it is down, it does some decent healing to all allies over 10 seconds. It's actually a pretty powerful AoE haunt in that regard. It just requires them, of course, to stand still. Now, the 10-second duration, I think, is nice. Effervescence is, I believe, 30 seconds is down. Now, it doesn't have a cooldown on it. You can keep casting it over and over again, but it's still not cheap. So it's one of those things for the efficiency of that spell to work out. You need it to, again, very different approaches. Again, there's pros and cons to each, but this is definitely a very strong kind of lay it down, heal people in that area, but it does depend on them staying in that area. Ghost Whiff, you can turn to a Ghost Whiff. Movement speed's increased. Flame Shock, again, is a dot on the target. Pretty mana costly, so again, I don't know if you're going to be casting this too much with how much mana that costs. Farsight, yeah. Earthbind Totem, again, slows targets around, 30-second cooldown. Earth Elemental is here, so it lasts for a minute. It does taunt things, which can be not good in some situations, but it is there. Cloudburst Totem is a talent. Normally, let me change this up. Normally, you would have Healing Stream Totem, which again we'll get to right here. So again, summons a totem at your feet for 15 seconds that heals an injured party or raid member for a certain amount every 1.7 seconds. Again, you're basically going to keep this down at all times. You're going to do passive kind of spot healing, which turns out to be one of the Shaman's strength, actually. Again, so I just took down part of the talent. We'll talk about that later. Chain Lightning, very cheap. I almost wonder if that mana cost is wrong, but very cheap AoE damage ability. So again, if you need to do AoE damage in a Mythic Plus, again, you don't need to heal. Chain Lightning is actually going to be quite fine. Chain Heal, very expensive, 1,000 mana, but it is an AoE. So again, it heals a friendly target for an amount that then jumps to the most injured nearby party or raid member. Now, I am talented in to increase this. Its baseline is 30% reduction and has 4 total targets. Again, I am talented into High Tides, which gives it that 15% reduction with each jump and 5 total targets. Capacitor Totem, again, now is here baseline. It's not a talent. 1 minute cooldown, has the ability to stun everything around you. Quite nice. Of course, Hero Bloodlust. Astral Shift, 1.5 minute DR, pretty strong DR as well, at a pretty decent cooldown length, so pretty decent to get survivability with that. Astral Recall, just another Hearth. Ancestral Vision is again your mass res, Ancestral Spirit is your single target castable res. So now let's move into those talents. 15 row. So we have Unleash Life, so it's a 15-second cooldown, single target heal, but buffs your next direct heal by 45%. Should be noted that Chain Heal counts as a direct heal. So you could actually take this and then have your next Chain Heal be increased, and that amount gets carried along to the other heals. So if your initial target heal is higher, that then would mean that each jump would be higher as well. Even though it is still reducing, it would still be a higher amount because of that. So it's a very strong way of buffing your Chain Heal every 15 seconds. Undulation is the one that I, however, personally love, because I do think that Shamans have a very strong ability to be a super efficient spot raid healer, which I'll talk about in more detail later. So every third healing wave or healing surge you cast heals for an additional 50%. It's pretty strong. So again, you can see, and again, it doesn't matter what you're casting. So again, I can cast 2 healing surges and then use it on either healing wave or healing surge. But if you see here, that healing wave amount is a pretty decent amount. Now again, if I put on a Riptide, that also reduces the cast time. So now I have a 1.5 second cast that heals for about 4,000. That's a pretty strong heal, let me tell you, for that cheap and that quick. Torrent, again, this increases the initial heal from Riptide by 30%. So again, the initial part on Riptide gets increased. So again, it's nice for, again, especially with Echo the Elements, when you have 2 charges, put a lot of Riptides out there, getting a lot of like spot healing on the target, plus then the hot afterwards. So again, if you're looking for a bit more bite on your Riptide up front, that would be there. Again, I just think that in a vacuum, Undulation is the best talent here for what it brings. And I'll get to that in more detail later. 30 row, Echo the Elements. This actually has a great synergy with a lot of talents, and I like the fact they moved it up here. So your Riptide, Healing Stream, and Lava Burst all now have 2 charges, and the effect is reset. Any effect that would reset, the remaining cooldown will instead just grant 1 charge. This means you're getting a lot of Riptides out. A lot of Riptides out means you're getting a lot of Tidal Wave procs. Tidal Wave procs means you get very efficient and quick healing waves. That's the kind of synergy here, right? Echo the Elements helps a lot. Now, it also, which is why I think this talent is so good, can give you 2 charges of Cloud Bursts, which we'll cover in a little bit. Deluge is the second talent in this row. Chain Heal heals for an additional amount when you have a Riptide on the target or if they're standing within healing range. So again, this works the same kind of way where if you hit a Riptide target, you'll get increased healing on that Chain Heal. Now, it's a little bit different here because, again, this is increasing the effect of your next direct heal. So, again, that effect is on your next heal up front. This, again, happens after they have a Riptide on them. So, again, if you have a lot of Riptides out, which you can, this could be helpful. But, again, because you can't take both Echo in this, you're not going to have nearly as many Riptides out. So, you are going to be hopefully basically basing on them being, in healing rain, which could happen. Again, Shaman are super, super strong for that. Everyone's standing in one place. Let's heal them up. I definitely think that, again, that would be very useful. The question is going to come down to how often is that going to happen. Echo helps you almost all the time, whereas Deluge is only going to help you in those encounters and fights where you're getting high amount of uptime on the healing rain. Earth Shield is the last target here. This would probably be best if you're trying to fill the role of tank heal. I don't know why you would do that. It can also, of course, be helpful in Mythic Plus to try to save somebody. But it basically increases the healing that you do on the target by 10%, and again, then it will heal them anytime they take damage. You can even, again, put it on yourself if you would like. The nice thing about that is you can put Earth Shield on a target and then Chain Heal through them, and again, still get some benefit from that as well. So you'd get that Chain Heal, and again, that Chain Heal would then trickle down to the other targets it hits. So you can see how, like, Unleash Life a target, Earth Shield a target, and then, something like High Tide, you can get a very strong Chain Heal going out off that single target. 45 row Spirit Wolf. So when you're in Ghost Wolf, you gain 5% increased movement speed and damage every 1 second stacking up. This is okay for Resto. It's not good for the other Shaman specs, but you have to kind of wait. It's one of those things where if you know in 4 seconds damage is coming out and you don't need to heal in those 4 seconds, which again is one of those things where you're probably trying to build up a Cloud Burst or something, you could go into Ghost Wolf. So again, I just think it's kind of a clunky talent. Earth Grab Totem. Summons a totem at a location. Again, it roots all things in place. If it can't root it, it will reduce its movement speed. Good utility. Static Charge reduces the cooldown of Capacitor Totem by 5 seconds for each enemy it stuns, up to 20 seconds, 4 targets max basically here. So again, it can just basically turn that AoE stun into a 40-second cooldown, which is pretty strong. Again, more group synergy, more group utility for a class that has a lot. Ancestral Vigor targets you heal with Healing Wave, Surge, Chain Heal, or Riptide. Gain 10% increased health for 10 seconds. So again, just increasing anybody you heal's health by 10%, which again is very useful. We'll see this later, but again, it allows you to kind of, again, give more static health to a lot of targets, which again can, of course, help them from not dying to things. It also has the effect of giving them more health means that their percent health pool based upon damage would be different. And because your mastery is based upon percent health, it has nothing to do with your absolute health, this can actually have some benefit with your mastery as well. Earthen Wall Totem. You put a totem down, it will basically absorb little bits of damage from each attack against any ally within 10 yards. It would be nice if you could put this down, it would just absorb that damage, so you could basically use it as kind of like a barrier type effect. In my opinion, that actually probably be too strong, which is why they don't do it. But it still has usefulness, especially in a Mythic Plus with a lot of little adds hitting, because again, each attack against an ally does this. So again, if you have a case where your tank is tanking a lot of mobs, this has pretty decent value there. The last one is APT, Ancestral Protection Totem, 5-minute cooldown. It will buff all targets within 20 yards with 10% increased health. It lasts for 30 seconds, and if any ally dies, the totem gets consumed and allows them to reincarnate. This does not count as a battle res. So you can use it to gimmick some fights, basically intentionally sacrificing some people and then allowing them to res. As a priest, I actually really like the idea of putting this down, having a priest, a holy priest, intentionally die, getting into the, spirit mode, doing a bunch of healing, and then being able to res yourself afterwards. So kind of like the cloak, but ghetto cloak. 75 row, Nature's Guardian. When your health is brought below 35%, you instantly heal for 20% of your maximum health. It cannot occur more than once every 4 seconds. So I cannot confirm this as I've not actually been able to test this on my own, but from what I understand, this can actually be effectively like a cheat death, where let's say you're at 40% health and you get hit for 45% of your health pool. You get reduced to 1% health, or 0 health. You would then get 20% of your maximum health back because it's an instant heal, and you would not die. So again, basically the idea is that if you would take damage that would bring you below 35% health, you instantly get healed for 20% of your maximum health. So as long as the damage wasn't basically 20% more than the 35, so it wasn't 55% of your entire health pool, you'd be alive. So again, in some cases where again you just get one shot, might not save you there, but it's definitely going to probably save you in some cases where you would have died. So again, Mythic Plus survivability, very useful. Graceful Spirit reduces the cooldown of Spirit Walker's Grace by a minute, and then increases your movement speed while it's active by 20%. If you need to heal while moving, that's a great talent. Again, it reduces the cooldown in half, basically from 2 minutes to 1 minute. It gives you a 25% uptime, basically, on Spirit Walker's Grace, and it also increases your movement speed, which is kind of the point, right? The idea here is I need to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. And now, not only can I get from A to B quicker, I can also heal while getting there, which is kind of like the win-win situation for a healer. Windrush Totem is if you want to help your raid out and not be selfish. So summon a totem at the target location. You grant all allies who pass within 10 yards increased movement speed for 5 seconds. So yeah, this can be used in a way kind of like a different version of Roar. But again, it's more raid utility for the class that has a buttload of raid utility. 90 row, so we have Downpour. This is a lot like the Queen's Ascendance, I believe, ability, where you have a burst of water at a target location, heals up to 6 injured allies within 12 yards for a pretty good amount. It is a 1.3 second cast, and the cooldown is increased by 5 seconds for each target effectively healed with a 5-second base cooldown. So for each target that it is healed effectively, you add 5 seconds to get up to the 6 injured targets. So I believe with the 6 targets, it ends up being a 40-second cooldown. I believe Queen Ascendance was higher than that, but again, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments. Now for the one that we all know everyone's going to be taking, especially in a raid situation, Cloudburst Totem. Now the cool thing is that you can take Cloudburst and Echo. Echo gives you 2 charges of Healing Stream. Cloudburst replaces Healing Stream. You now get 2 charges of Cloudburst Totem. So you can now Cloudburst, do some healing, explode it, Cloudburst again, do it again. So you basically are just giving yourself more Cloudbursts in the fight. So again, it's very, very useful, especially for fights where you couldn't use every single one. So basically now you're not punished for having Cloudburst be off cooldown, because you can have it recharging still. You basically get a minute to recharge 2 charges, and more than likely you're going to need a Cloudburst within every minute. So very powerful. Really do like this for what we all know Restoration Shaman is so good at, which again is that raid support kind of healer role, where you're getting a lot of raid healing out there, you're timing this out, and if you're a skilled shaman, you can get a lot of healing out of Cloudburst Totem. There's a guildie of mine who played shaman who was super skilled at basically using Cloudburst Totem to snipe a lot of AoE heals, so you can definitely have fun with that. 100 row, We have High Tide, so Chain Heal bounces to one additional target, and its fall off with each is reduced by half. I really think the fall off is almost more powerful than the one additional target. Basically getting 15% more healing to those 4 targets, not to mention you're also going to get now a 5th target in there, is just super strong. So even if it didn't have the additional 1 target, it would still be a good talent, but it gives you that as well. Now, Wellspring might be interesting, and again, this is one of those ones where I wish I was able to get some raid testing in. Again, I just have never been available when they were doing raid testing. But you can see here, it's a casted spell, and you can see the little line go out. And it will, I believe, heal targets in that range. Now, in Legion, I believe this is capped at 6 targets. I can confirm it heals more than 6. I've got it to heal 7 targets on target dummies, but I can't confirm anything past that. If this does not have a cap, if this functions like Halo, basically, but just in one direction, this could be super strong. Because it's a pretty strong heal. Again, it heals for more than what a chain heal does, and it does not trail off like chain heal does. So basically, even if you can just hit, let's say, 4 targets, it's better than a chain heal. Because your base chain heal, again, now that I don't have that High Tide, costs 1,000 mana, 2.1 second cast, heal the friendly target for 2,000, and again, that would then be reduced by 30% for each jump. This 1.3 second cast, 800 mana, does have a cooldown, of course, but again, will hit every target in front of you for 2144. So the spell power is stronger on Wellspring than it is on the base heal of Chain Heal. So at 4 targets plus, you're already having a stronger heal. Even probably at 3 targets, you're stronger. So you don't have to be super skilled to make it work. And again, if this can hit 10, 12, 15 targets, you can see how that can scale super strong. And this might be the go-to like raid healing talent. But we'll have to obviously wait and see. The last talent in this row is Ascendance. Now this goes more along the lines of like a Undulation, Echo, Flash Flood, single target spot healing build, which could be great for Mythic Plus, for example. 3-minute cooldown. You turn into a Water Ascendant for 15 seconds. It causes all healing you deal to be duplicated to any nearby ally. Nearby again is 8 yards. So if you heal a target, anyone within 8 yards of that target will then again get a duplicated distribution of the heal you're already doing. So again, basically, if you can do, let's say, 2,000 to a target, and there's 2 targets around it, they would each get 1,000. So again, it basically turns your single target heals into now cleave heals for 15 seconds every 3 minutes. So again, that's fine. I think at 3 minutes, it actually needs to last for longer. I think it does need to last for like 30 seconds in all honesty. I don't think that would be OP, but if maybe reduce the cooldown to 2 minutes, may make it stronger. But it's one of those things where in a raid environment, you're going to take High Tide or Wellspring. Mythic Plus, you might take this. It might be strong there. But again, High Tide, you get 5 targets. You can heal everybody in the Mythic Plus. Wellspring, again, if you can stand behind them and hit all of them, that's strong as well. So again, we'll have to, of course, wait and see what people end up taking for this. Okay, let's get a little bit of gameplay in here. I'm going to change my talents up just a bit here because it's basically 5-man content. Let's actually, let's take Ascendance here. Okay. So just going to start up a little endless run here. So for me, the way that I think that the Restoration Shaman is going to be wanting to play in Mythic Plus in particular, but even in Raid as well, is to really take advantage of the tidal waves. So again, you can basically get Rip Tides out every 6 seconds and really build up those things, the tidal waves, and use them to help kind of increase your efficiency with your heals. So again, you can use Riptide, or if you don't have a Riptide, use a Chain Heal if there's multiple targets to heal. But having these super efficient and fast, look at that, 1.2 second healing wave that was healing for 4,000, not to mention the mastery benefit, not to mention the possibility that it can crit and give you mana back. As you'll notice, I don't really use much mana, and I've yet to see another healer that's able to be as efficient in this kind of Mythic Plus style, where it's a lot of spot healing. It's a lot of, okay, take some big damage, heal you, but the one different thing is, yeah, sure, maybe a Holy Paladin can do that too. What they can't do is burst that AoE when they need to. And as a Restoration Shaman, you can do that as well. So you'll see here with this pack here that we get some AoEs going out. I have the ability to use some chain heals, of course, to help with the ability to kind of get some. So there we go. And I can get a chain heal out. So this is where it's great. So again, you have a low heal target, and you can just get a nice big healing wave and keep them from dying. I'm kind of intentionally letting them get low to see if I can get some nice big heals here. Getting a bit unlucky here with my crits, but that's okay. So yeah, no problem whatsoever. I don't ever feel as if like I'm out of control or have to kind of like rush. If I needed to, I could even ascend into that kind of situation. I could, of course, Spirit Link. I'm not putting down Healing Rain. I should be doing that as well. But again, I really find the Riptide, Chain Heal, Healing Wave, Healing Surge toolkit by itself is strong. Not even to mention having your Healing Stream totems, your other cooldowns. Again, I can, of course, heal if I needed to, which is kind of overkill in my opinion. So let's ascend into actually here. But again, these super cheap, super strong healing waves, I think, are just something that people need to pay attention to. I really would think it's a shame if people end up just playing this as a chain heal spam. I don't think that's the most efficient way to play this. I think chain heal is going to be a big part of your AoE healing toolkit. But to not basically chain heal and then at least use a healing wave to not waste your tidal wave procs, to me is silly. Because again, a buffed healing wave, even without the reduced cast time, with the reduced cast time, is a more efficient heal. And again, it's one of those things where if you're overhealing with chain heal, which we all know you're overhealing with chain heal, then just healing the one target with healing wave, just to not waste that mana, I think is a much better option here. And again, with Echo of Elements and being able to get out those two charges again of, let's put that on there, Healing Surge. Let's actually drop one of those down there. That's convenient. But yeah, the amount of healing you can get out of your tidal wave procs of Healing Wave is just so strong. Really enjoy that playstyle. And I do think that, and I'll mention this later, they're going to be a lot stronger than they were in Mythic Plus. I know they're really weak at Mythic Plus right now. They're going to be stronger. All right, so let's wrap this up. But yeah, I had no problem going to super high amounts of stacks. And it's to be noted, I've done this with every healer. And with some of the other healers, I was not able to get past, on the Endless run, 7, 8. I had to stop it. I ran out of time, basically, with the Restoration Shaman. I never had a problem keeping people alive in this kind of environment. All right, let's take a look here at the stats. And like I mentioned, I do think there's two ways to build. I think one way to build yourself would be kind of a more chain heal oriented build if you want to go that way. Taking something like High Tide, Cloudburst Totem for the AoE, of course. Echo I still think is really good. I even think Undulation is good for a chain heal build. You might take Deluge for chain heal, again, if you think you can have a fight where people are going to be standing still a decent amount of the time, or you can constantly always be using it off your Riptide. If you really want to go super chain heal, you can use Unleash Life. I just think the management of that is a bit rough. And plus, like I said, you shouldn't be wasting your proc. You shouldn't be wasting your tidal wave. Even if you're going chain heal gives you a tidal wave proc. Use it. If not, again, on a healing wave, use it on a healing surge, which is going to probably crit and give you some mana back. I think it's inefficient to just be casting chain heal over and over and over again. Even in a Cloudburst window, I think you can get more healing out with healing waves and healing surges than that. So if you're going to chain heal build, though, you are going to want some haste. And so you're probably wanting to go something like Haste Mastery with enough crit to not go Now, the way that I think you should probably build yourself is, again, I still think in a raid you're going to take Cloudburst Totem. You might actually take Wellspring here, and I would probably actually go crit and mastery, which again was something that Restoration Shaman have done in the past. But with that crit mastery, your single target spot heals are going to be super efficient. You're not going to, it's almost mana neutral, right? To just be casting healing wave over and over again, basically in those situations. And you're basically going to be kind of weaving Riptide, healing wave, chain heal, healing wave, depending on the damage output that's going out there. and you're not going to ever go You're going to last forever. It's a very efficient play style, and with something like Undulation and Echo, and then again Cloudburst and maybe Wellspring or High Tide, honestly, in whatever you want there, I really think that even in a raid environment, you're going to get a lot of good, efficient healing. One of the issues that Shaman have had in the past was they needed the crit to keep them going but they wanted the haste to get those chain heals out because they were basically relying on chain heal to do the bulk of their healing. I think that backing off chain heal a bit, using it just as a way of giving yourself tidal wave procs, or when again they're efficient when you need to heal 4 or 5 people at once, and then relying more on your cooldowns. Again, I think that the role that the Shaman should play is the role of, I have all the cooldowns. I got Spirit Link, I got Healing Tide Totem, I have either Healing Stream or Cloudburst Totem for AoE healing. I have all these other lovely utilities as well with Tremor Totem, Capacitor Totem, Hex if you need to. I bring Heroism to the raid. You get the point. I can have Ascend if I need it, but probably not. But to be focusing like, okay, I have those tools, but I'm also the person who keeps you from dying. If you're at 20% health and you're not a tank, I'm going to be the one healing you. I'm going to benefit from my mastery. I'm going to spike you right back up, and you're not going to die. I'm going to also, while I spike you up, give you 10% more health. You can see the point here. I think that that role of a AoE cooldown plus single target spot healing, triage, healing role is just not only to me very fulfilling as a healer, but really where they're going to have a lot of strength. I think if you're playing it as a chain heal spam, you're playing it wrong. And again, I could absolutely be incorrect. Someone could go and show me, here's a log of someone just casting chain heal and topping the meters. I'm not saying that can't happen. What I'm saying is that, sure, you're topping the meters. You might be able to do it better if you weren't. Right? I think you could bring more utility, not just meter utility, but actual true utility to the raid by playing with that playstyle over playing a pure numbers playstyle, just spamming chain heal and stacking maybe crit and haste or something to kind of get that up. But again, can always be wrong. Let me know if you think I'm wrong down there in the comments. So in summary here, I've already talked a pretty good bit about my thoughts on it. I really do think that Restoration Shaman is one of the healers that you're going to want in your Mythic Plus raid. While they're not a great Mythic Plus healer, they're not horrible. I could make a very good argument for why they're the worst Mythic Plus healer right now. I don't think they're going to be that bad in BfA. I definitely think they're going to be a lot stronger. Then they have more tools. They have better survivability. They have, again, better single target healing. That they're far more efficient in single target healing than they were in the past. Again, especially with things, again, with like Flash Flood, Undulation. They have the ability to be good spot healers, which is what you tend to want in Mythic Plus. They have the ability to kind of reduce damage with something like Spirit Link. They're a bit more dependent on people being stacked. But in Mythic Plus, you can get away with that sometimes, right? You can get away with people pulling a pack. You're on a point. You drop your healing rain down. You can drop a Spirit Link totem on them if you want. You can chain heal through all of them. You can do well, even Wellspring. So if you like this video, go ahead and give me a like. If you dislike the video, go ahead and give a dislike. If you want to see more videos like this, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you have any comments for me, likes, dislikes, disagreements, tell me what you think down there in the comment section. I'd love to hear it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in my future videos.